Welcome back. So typically when I teach an SQL course, things are taught in a very sequential manner. However, as I was developing the stored procedure course, I realized that stored procedures are really kind of a big elephant, and I think kind of a hard topic for people to master. And I wanted to make sure that people understood what stored procedures are before we got into the nuts and bolts of individual elements of what makes up a stored procedure. So you're going to see that this course is put together slightly different than some of my other courses where you can just start from the beginning and kind of go through like a lunch buffet. So I thought it would make sense to put together a quick lesson on how to take this course. The first sections of this course are walkthroughs, and they're meant to help you understand the overall meaning of the stored procedures, and they're there to help you get the whole parts and not the individual pieces. I want you to understand and get a feel for the appreciation of a stored procedure. Once you understand the walkthrough and the stored procedure, I'll go into debugging, which I recommend you really master, because knowing how to debug or troubleshoot your stored procedure will save you hours of time. Being able to understand where you have a coding problem is essential to knowing how to efficiently write stored procedures. We'll then start going into programming concepts and go through each of the elements used to create a stored procedure. We'll start with the control flow logic, and we'll look at variables, commands like print, if then, loops, and the return command. Once I've gone through the programming concepts, I'll show you how to catch and report errors. This comes in handy, as you've seen, like when we work with like divide by zero situations. Then I'll go into defining stored procedures again and working with parameters and show you all the different ways that you can use parameters to bring values into your stored procedures and also to return values out of your stored procedures. These are all going to be good sections to go through sequentially, and then in the future to use as reference, because you could go back individually then to refresh yourself on how does error trapping work. But I highly recommend that as a first pass, you go through them in order as I have them presented. And then once you have learned how a stored procedure is put together, we'll wrap up the course with cursors and transactions. I throw this in somewhat as a bonus. I feel that they're not necessarily related to stored procedures in the sense that you need to know them to do a stored procedure, but you will see that cursors and transactions live side by side with stored procedures. They're one of the main reasons why we have stored procedures is to be able to use cursors or to construct large transactions. I think it makes sense to introduce these concepts alongside stored procedures. So hopefully now that I've explained my approach, you'll have a better understanding of how I've put this course together, and especially in the beginning why I kind of talk about some of these broad walkthroughs without going into a lot of detail. It's because the detail is coming later, and I just want you to have a broad overview in the beginning. With that, let's get going and start some walkthroughs.